So I have a question for you. In 1967, there was a study that indicated that 93% of communication was nonverbal. Now, there are some caveats to that story, but if 93% of communication is nonverbal, why are you still having low-quality voice calls with your customers? So as I mentioned, there was this study from 1967 by Mehrabian and Ferris that said 93% of all communication is nonverbal, right? That's where this concept of the 55-38-7 rule came from, right? Which means that 55% of communication happens through body language, 38% is the tone of your voice, and only 7% is the words that you use. Now, this has been sort of controversial because he was, talking about, single words and things like that. But there was other studies that came later. There's a Ray Birdwhistell study that said 60 to 70% of communication is nonverbal. But even if it's, 45, 50%, whatever it is, I mean, there's a huge portion of communication that is just simply nonverbal. And so that means that if you're not seeing somebody, you're losing a lot in the communication, right? Mm-hmm. And, for so long, we've been having, conference calls on phones and stuff like that. And we've got this really crappy audio quality that we've gotten used to. But the thing is, prior to the pandemic, we had in-person, face-to-face meetings that sort of moved the needle a little bit, right? And now we don't have that. So all we've got is this, sort of low quality medium that we keep finding ourselves in. And I think that's one of the reasons why, Sundesh, you and I have been so focused on trying to help people improve the quality of the video and improve the quality of the audio that's going on in these conversations, because I think it really makes a difference. And the one thing I'll say is that I noticed a difference when I started using a good camera and good audio in the conversations, in that I think I was communicating better with people, and I think they reacted to me better. But I'll tell you, the thing that I'm finding now that you and other people have really upped their game, for me, it makes a big difference, because we talk about the importance of gesturing, right? Mm-hmm. People who make more gestures come across as a warmer, more agreeable, and energetic, right? But the other thing that's interesting about gestures is apparently it also helps people interpret the tone. Even when you're projecting a certain tone in your conversation, adding gestures into that really helps the communication there. The other piece of it is that facial expressions are really important. And the one thing that's really important about facial expressions is that facial expressions help convey empathy, right? Mm-hmm. And if you're trying to partner with somebody or form a good, solid relationship that you can leverage, that piece of empathy is really important. That willingness to cooperate with somebody is going to be tied up in that empathy piece. And the other piece of it is like the ability to make eye contact or see the eyes. That conveys trustworthiness or helps you build a connection. And the other piece of it is smiling. The more you smile, the more people want to be connected to you. The more people
just around you.
They want to be around you, the more likable you are, right? So those are all things that have gone away. And now that we're 100%, virtual, that stuff gets left behind. But I don't think it has to be. And that's why I've been doing, the videos on video enablement that I have and all those things. So the reason I'm saying all that is because today we're going to talk to Sundesh about his journey into video enablement, because what he's gone through quite a process, starting with very more low
quite
end
a bit
gear.
Of money too.
A lot of money. He had a radical cashectomy, but he's gone from lower quality video and audio and sort of built it up over time, and now he's basically got everything I've got.
Yeah, literally.
So Sundesh, tell me about your journey. Tell me about what you've experienced through all this and what it's meant to you.
Well, first, what's interesting is your stats. You know, would you say the 55,
38.7.
55, 38, 7, right?
Yeah.
And when you put it in that type of context, this really starts to make more sense. But it's like anything else, dude. When you first start doing something, when you first were, you know, pushing me into like, hey man, a better camera, a better, you know, like, look, you told me to buy stuff in March timeframe during the pandemic time, right? And so I bought all that stuff. I already have a new camera, a new microphone, new lights. You know what I mean? Like I've already upgraded because I saw the value in it already. And now standardizing with you is even better so that we can just kind of maintain quality and consistency, you know, with us. And it's way easier for me knowing that I can rely on you to help me out. But the experience has been phenomenal. And I think it's one of those things where people aren't going to believe us at first. Right? I think when we tell people, hey, you should go buy this for all your field sales teams, right? Which is going to be a hard sell. But
yes.
What if you gave all your sales teams, your engineers, your architects, your sales folks, your sales executives, management, they have nice quality audio, video, and the setup that I have courtesy of Chris Brandt. I absolutely believe that they're going to be better at their jobs. I think they're going to be happier with their jobs. I think they're going to feel more like, look, right now I got a big face of Chris Brandt in front of me and I feel like I'm talking to you, you know, and you're clear. I can see your face. I can see your gestures. You know what I mean? I don't feel like as distant from you, you know? And so that's just been huge. And for me as a sales guy, I want to connect with people. And I'm not able to do that right now. But maybe if I can't see them in great quality, at least they can see me and hear me, hopefully in good quality. And so their experience is nicer and just more pleasant. Yeah. You know, like you said, I want to be likable, right? And if I need all the help I could get. So if good audio and video help me do that, then that's what I'm going to do.
Well, so I mean, have you heard back from people? I mean, because I know when I switched things up, I heard a lot of comments coming back to me.
Yeah.
I mean, what are you hearing from people?
Yeah, people say just the other day, someone said this is the best video I've ever seen on any video conference. So right there, right? It's like, oh, you know, great, thank you. You know, I'm getting a lot of that. You get a lot of, hey, what's that in your background? And wow, you got some really good, you know, very good lighting in the background, and what's going on there and what's going on here. And so what it really does, it kind of tells people about me a little bit, you know, and I'm really excited about playing around with that stuff in the background. Right now I got my kids kind of stuff that they've put together, and I'm just, you know, slowly going to incorporate their stuff into my background and stuff. But it's really helping me define me a little bit. So even though people don't see me on a day-to-day basis, hopefully what they do see on these video conferences kind of they stay more in touch with me. Yeah. But the feedback is awesome.
Yeah, well, I know one thing I'm starting to like, my background's starting to drive me nuts. So I'm starting to piece together the next iteration of that, because that's just like, you know, one of the things that I don't want to be stuck with a dark look all the time. I want to have a look that I can go back and forth. And the red color is kind of dramatic and all that is kind of cool, but it's very limiting in what I can do. So I'm going to probably go with some more of like a neutral gray kind of background that I can light to bring different moods and colors, right? So I can either make it, you know, like I can make it dark red if I want by just putting, you know, that kind of light on it, or I can, you know, have it as a more daylight looking kind of thing. But I'm still playing with how that's all.
Well, and that's what part of the journey for me. Another data point, I made a couple notes here, is I'm realizing that there isn't like a time where you're like done with this.
There's no stopping point.
There's no stop. It's a continuous evolution. And you know, on the weekends, I'm just messing around with stuff, you know. See, does this work? I had this microphone on this side, now it's on this side. I had everything set up this way, now it's everything set up this way. I'm just trying to figure it all out. And some days I like it, some days it drives me nuts. My background drives me, you know, like for you, like what you're saying, I want to try to see if I can make it more dynamic, but not so like laborsome for me. But I want to make it simple, but maybe I can switch things around here and there, something pops up in my family, something happens, I think it's cool, maybe put it up there. Cubs are in the playoffs, maybe I put something with the Cubs in the background. You know what I mean? So, but it's got to be easy. Yeah. It's got to be simple. Where I'm stuck right now is automating everything. Now I have everything, but if it takes me 10 to 15 minutes every single time to get it right, then that's a problem. So I really got to start creating standards. I got to automate, get maybe some of the stuff you're talking about with those plugs that I can get wireless access to, and start to manage my camera through my laptop, things like that. I'm getting all my lights on one strip, so I can just turn it on and they just come on.
Yeah,
those are a pain in the ass, kind of. But they're super worth it.
Yeah. Yeah, they're nice, and those actually have a remote control, so you might want to just think about that. And the wireless charging, you could just throw a wireless charger just to plug them in, and have them go too, and then have the iPhone app to control them.
What I'm doing with those is basically they have 3 settings, right? They have the hue, the saturation, and the intensity. As soon as I turn it on, I know the hue, I know the color. As soon as I put the intensity up, I know what color it is, and based upon what color it is, I know where I'm going to put it.
Yeah.
And so now I just got to keep it consistent. Just keep the hue and the saturate is 100% every time. Now it's just a matter of, But then you get it gets easier. It gets easier,
Yeah.
But there's a lot of moving parts here.
Yeah, so that's an interesting discussion point. So I think a lot of people look at this and they're like, oh my God, that's completely out of reach for me. It's like I don't know photography. I don't know all this stuff. I don't know how all that stuff works. And I mean, you didn't really know photography or anything. I mean, you that was not in your typical wheelhouse. So what was how intimidating was it, and how complicated was it for you to do that?
Extremely intimidating, but I have this good buddy of mine. He always told me, he's like, the one thing, son, this is you just got to get started. And so that's what I did. I just got started and I just jumped in, chaotically ordering everything, not really understanding how it all kind of fits together. But your video, the gear I use, was very, very helpful. So I was watching that while I'm now connecting everything and understanding what's audio, what's video, what's this cable for, and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And it's like anything else. Once you get in it, and then you're like, oh man, I don't like this. I like it this way. I like it that way, right? There's some things that are just, it is what it is. It's the best way to configure it, and the audio of it is what it is. But there's other stuff, it's like your own personal opinion and your own personal preferences, which then that's the hole that I go down, right? It's like, oh, I need it to be perfect.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is intimidating, but you get better and better. And now I'm super excited because now I am going to do family pictures with this camera. I don't need to pay for that lady to come here, and charge us.
You mean people like my wife, who's a photographer?
I mean, I'd pay her anytime. I mean, by the way, she should raise her rates. I think she's phenomenal.
She doesn't do too much of the photography anymore. She's got her books and things now, but so, yeah.
Good. It's a good thing you didn't make me feel bad about that one.
Sorry, photographers.
No, but it is quite amazing. And look, like what amazes me is how clear everything can be, and how the audio can be. And again, I think people are going to not believe us, right? And that's going to be part of what we do, right? Is helping them along that journey. We helped our buddy Jeevan, right? Now look, people internally are now telling me, hey man, Jeevan's got this new great camera out there. Like I was just on a call with him. It looks really, really good. I'm like, yeah. Same one that Chris and I have, exactly configured the exact same way.
Yeah.
And in your step-by-step, by the way, the other intimidating part is this. For a non-camera person or a non-photography person, is the EOS R, like there's so many options and there's so many buttons and there's so many widgets, and you got these terms like ISO and aperture and all this kind of stuff, and I don't, Google is your friend. Get on there and try to understand what that all is, but it's a little bit intimidating at first because it's like, how do I set all these different parameters? And based upon our use case, you kind of created the eyes and the face recognition and all that kind of stuff, and so now I just have those like configured and set, like that. But let's be honest, if you didn't do that for me, and that would have been hours and hours on a YouTube trying to understand way too much, you know. But I got the cliff notes and I felt better moving on.
Well, and I've never actually published that on the site, so maybe I need to do that too, or maybe make a video that just walks through some of those details.
Yeah, because but again, at first you're like all these different windows, right? When you're like, go to page 6 and it's the second option and set that to this or that. When it's that detailed and it's just like kind of like the click view kind of stuff, all of a sudden I start to understand what are those different settings and what is it actually doing, and why are we setting this? Why are we setting the ISO to this and the aperture to that,
Yeah. Well, and like I said, maybe I need to do a little bit more in-depth, video on that stuff as well. But I'm glad it, and I think the thing for you too is like, I think you can get some of these things set and then you don't have to worry about it again.
Right.
And so once that's been done, and, for some companies, I think, their technical staff could set those things up and get it all pre-configured and ready to go for people and then just, ship it out and people can kind of, it's ready to go. Right.
Right.
So.
Another unintended consequence of a lot of this stuff too is you can have a great camera, you can have great audio, but if your internet is slow, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, that's a big one too, and I think that I one of the things that I've seen with a lot of people is their internet is just so problematic, but they feel like, well, I've ran the speed test, and the speed test shows me getting this great bandwidth, but the speed tests don't talk about latency, and they don't talk about jitter and things like that, and those are the things that really screw up these connections, and I think the networking component of it is a tricky piece for people to figure out as well, and I think that the problem is so many of these services were so incredibly oversubscribed when everybody started working from home, and they have not upgraded enough of their equipment to solve for some of those problems. And some people are out in remote areas where there just is not good. There are not a lot of good connectivity options. I mean, we're fortunate to be near Chicago. I'm in Evanston, which is got a lot of good options. But even here, my Comcast connection, their network was so completely oversaturated, I could not get it to work. And it started off really great, but as over time, as they added more subscribers and people started working from home, my connection got so bad it just was unusable, and I had to switch to RCN, which they're newer in the area and they haven't oversubscribed their whole network yet. So I'm hoping it stays good. It's been actually phenomenal, and I went from like a $240 a month spend to $78 a month with way more bandwidth. I got rid of cable and things like that, so it wasn't apples to apples. But having that good connectivity, being a cord cutter is a fairly easy, straightforward thing these days. So, people may need to look towards other options. As that goes on. So.
Yeah, and and in my opinion, now as an advocate for all the employees out there in our industry, I would say that companies should start thinking about investing into how to help their important field customer relationship type people invest into their success, because if you are investing in your company by doing that, I think culturally being more connected to people, like, again, man, you and I have a lot of great conversations, and it's great when I can see you and we can go back and forth on things. I can tell when you're getting frustrated or you're happy or you're sad or we're laughing or whatever it is. I can sense that, and that's important that we can get that from each other.
Yeah, we almost never have just voice-only conversations anymore, which I think is really interesting. And, we work with Adam and that. I mean, when I call him, I never have it. It's always some Zoom call or something like that. I mean, the phone is just not happening, or a FaceTime call, right?
Right.
It's funny how quickly we shifted in that. And now I don't know that I could go back to just, talking on the phone exclusively anymore.
I know. Well, I'm on the phone a lot, so it just depends on, because these days, man, everybody's just scheduling meetings, and so that's a little frustrating. But if I don't need to be if I'm not going to be doing too much talking and I don't need to be too engaged, I don't turn it on, to be honest. But the ones that are important, right? The ones that I want the engagement, we have some meetings that might only be 30 minutes, but they're super important, right?
Yeah.
We're trying to negotiate, or we're trying to solve a problem or something,
Yeah. So if there are things that you want me to explain for you, feel free to leave that in the comments, and I'll try to address some of your concerns. Maybe that's in another video, or I can just answer you directly in the comments. But if there's something you don't understand, you want to understand, let me know. And if you like what you saw, please click on that like button. Hit that subscribe button because that helps a ton for the channel. And if you want to get notified when I post new content, click on that bell icon and you will get those notifications. I will see you in the next video.